The Patel home sat quietly at the end of Maplewood Lane, the kind of place neighbors pointed to when describing a picture-perfect suburban life. Fresh, painted shutters, trimmed hedges, warm porch lights, everything looked curated, controlled, almost staged. And for years, Anaya Patel had taken pride in maintaining that illusion. After moving from India to New Jersey when Ree was only 4, she had worked relentlessly to build a life that looked stable, respectable, safe. But in the silence of the empty house, when the clocks ticked too loudly and the nights stretched too long, the perfection sometimes felt like a cage. Anaya stood in the kitchen that afternoon, staring at the spotless marble counter she had wiped down twice already. She heard laughter outside. Her daughter's laughter. Ree's voice floated through the backyard door, followed by a deeper, unfamiliar tone. Liam, the new presence in her daughter's world. Anaya had met him only a few weeks earlier, a polite, soft-spoken 19-year-old studying computer science at the local community college. He had the kind of smile that made people feel seen, and the casual confidence of someone raised without the constant weight of expectations. She'd noticed the way Ree glowed around him, the warmth in her eyes, the ease with which she leaned into his shoulder. It should have made Anaya happy, it did, on the surface, but something else lurked beneath. When she moved to the window and saw them sitting close together on the deck, sharing headphones, she felt an ache she didn't fully understand. Not jealousy, she told herself, but something deeper, something lonelier. Liam looked up for a brief second, catching her gaze through the glass. Instead of the awkward glance most teenagers give their girlfriend's mother, he held eye contact for a heartbeat longer than necessary, offering a polite smile before turning back to Ree. A simple smile, innocent, meaningless, yet it lingered. By evening, the house was filled with noise, Ree and Liam cooking pasta, the sound of a playlist echoing through the living room, and the occasional burst of laughter that seemed to fill Anaya's ribcage and hollow it out at the same time. She joined them for dinner, watching their easy intimacy, the playful teasing, the way Liam pulled out Ree's chair without thinking. Anaya noticed everything. She hated that she noticed. At one point, when Ree went upstairs to grab her charger, Liam reached for the water jug at the same moment Anaya did. Their hands brushed, barely a second of contact, but her pulse jumped unexpectedly. He pulled back gently, murmuring, "Sorry, Mrs. Patel," with a small grin. The warmth in his eyes startled her. She spent the rest of the evening convincing herself it meant nothing. Later that night, after Ree said goodbye to Liam at the door and disappeared into her room, the house fell into its familiar stillness. Anaya tried to distract herself with chores, but her mind kept drifting back to that brief touch, that strangely lingering smile. It was absurd. She knew it. She wasn't a teenager. She wasn't supposed to feel anything. Restless, she picked up her phone. She only meant to look him up briefly, just to reassure herself she was overthinking everything. Just harmless curiosity, a tiny peek. But when she opened Liam's Instagram, scrolling past photos of hiking trips, gaming setups, and campus life, she froze at a post from 4 months ago, a caption, a girl, not Ree, and a comment from Liam, written at a time that overlapped with when he and Ree had first started talking. One line, one sentence that made the room tilt slightly. Some people never really leave your life, even when they should. Anaya stared at the screen, heart thudding, realizing this boy brought more into their home than just teenage charm. He carried secrets, and one of them was now staring straight at her. The glow of Liam's Instagram post lingered in Anaya's mind long after she put her phone away. She told herself she shouldn't care, that it wasn't her place, that she was reading too deeply into a teenager's cryptic caption. But the uneasiness stayed with her, threading itself into her thoughts through the next day like a quiet, invisible shadow. Over the following week, Liam began showing up more often. Sometimes to study with Ree, sometimes for dinner, sometimes just because he happened to be in the neighborhood. Soon he was entering the Patel home with the comfort of someone who belonged there. He joked with Anaya, praised her cooking, carried groceries inside without being asked. He held doors open with an old-fashioned politeness that felt rare in boys his age, and each time he smiled at her, something inside her subtly shifted. It wasn't romance, it wasn't desire, it was the dangerous comfort of being seen after years of feeling invisible. One night, with Ree staying late at her part-time job, Liam stopped by to drop off a laptop charger she had left in his car. Anaya invited him in, insisting he wait until Ree returned so she could thank him herself. He agreed, settling awkwardly at the edge of the couch while Anaya made tea. It should have been an ordinary moment. But the house felt too quiet with just the two of them inside. They talked about harmless things, college majors, Indian food he wanted to try, how cold Jersey winters felt compared to the warm summers he missed. Their conversation drifted with an ease Anaya hadn't felt in years, as though she was speaking to someone who didn't exist inside the strict roles her life demanded. But then the air shifted. Liam asked softly, "Do you ever get lonely?" with Ree being so grown up now. The question struck her with its boldness, too personal, too close. She hesitated before answering. "Everyone gets lonely sometimes," she said, attempting a light tone. "It's normal." He nodded, but his gaze didn't move away from her. "Yeah, normal, but it doesn't make it easy." There was something in his voice, something almost wounded, something that tugged at her in a way she didn't trust. The conversation should have ended there. She should have changed the subject, excused herself, said she needed to finish cleaning or cooking or anything. But instead, she sat back down, allowing the silence to thicken between them, and then Liam said her name. Not Mrs. Patel, not ma'am, just Anaya, soft, barely above a whisper. Her breath caught without warning. She felt the wrongness of it instantly, like a line being crossed so quietly it almost went unnoticed. Before she could respond, the sound of re-unlocking the front door shattered the moment. Liam jerked slightly, straightening his posture, and the spell broke as quickly as it had settled over the room. Ree entered smiling, unaware of anything strange. She hugged Liam, thanking him for the charger, and launched into a story about a rude customer at work. Liam reverted to his usual gentle demeanor. Everything returned to normal, but Anaya knew something had shifted. Later that night, lying awake in bed, she replayed every word they had exchanged, every glance, every pause. She tried to convince herself it meant nothing, just a lonely woman reading too much into a boy's kindness. But her heart betrayed her. Something inside her was changing, even if she refused to admit it. Across town, at that same hour, Ree's cousin Maya was scrolling through her phone when she stumbled upon something strange. A screenshot auto, saved in her gallery, captured from a shared cloud folder. It was a deleted message, a message between Liam and Anaya, just one line, just one timestamp, but enough to make Maya sit upright in bed, frowning at the screen. "Are you alone?" sent at 12:16 a.m. from Anaya, and it hadn't been meant for anyone else to see. The day the storm rolled in, the sky over Maplewood Lane shifted from pale gray to a bruised, violent blue. By late afternoon, thunder was rumbling like distant artillery, and sheets of rain began hammering the Patel home. Anaya stood by the window, watching tree branches whip in the wind, trying to quiet the unease that had lived inside her ever since Maya discovered that midnight message. She hadn't told Ree about the screenshot because she didn't know what to say or how to explain something she didn't fully understand herself. Shame mixed with confusion, forming a tight knot in her throat. At 6:40 p.m., her phone buzzed. "Ree, Mom, I'm stuck at work. Power went out and they need extra help closing. Don't wait up. Liam said he might swing by to check on you." Anaya's stomach tightened. She typed back, "I'm fine." No need for him to, but before she could finish, the doorbell rang. When she opened it, Liam stood there drenched from the rain, hair plastered to his forehead, hoodie soaked through. The thunder cracked behind him, illuminating his silhouette in a jagged flash. "Mrs. Patel," he said breathlessly, "sorry. My car hydroplaned near the crossing. I didn't want to risk driving back. I was closer to here than home." She should have told him to call a cab. She should have told him to wait outside. She should have walked away. Instead, she stepped aside and whispered, "Come in before you get sick." The lights flickered as he entered. The storm roared louder, swallowing the silence between them. Anea handed him a towel, avoiding his eyes. "Thank you," he murmured, brushing water from his cheeks. "I didn't mean to bother you." "You're not." She replied too quickly. The air tightened. They sat in the living room with mugs of hot tea as the storm battered the house. The dim lamp cast soft shadows, making the room feel smaller, like they were the only two people left in the world. Liam broke the silence first. "Ree told me you've been distant lately." Anea stiffened. "I've just been tired." "That's not true." His voice was calm but too perceptive. "I feel like you're avoiding me." She swallowed. "I'm not avoiding you. I'm avoiding misunderstandings." His eyes flickered with something unreadable. "Between us," the question pierced the room like a blade. "Liam," she whispered, "we crossed a line with that message. It shouldn't have happened." He leaned forward slightly. "I didn't think you'd actually delete it." Her breath caught. "How do you?" "You deleted it from your phone," he said quietly, "not from mine." A tremor ran through her. "Liam, please." For a moment, neither spoke. Rain beat violently against the windows, thunder shaking the picture frames on the wall. Then he said, barely audible, "You're not the only one who feels lonely." Her heart stumbled. The house, the storm, the quiet, everything pressed in around them. The conversation grew bolder, about emptiness, regrets, expectations, the weight of responsibility. Words spilled out that neither of them had planned, exposing cracks in both their lives. Anea felt herself being pulled into something she knew was wrong, but the storm outside and the storm inside her blurred every boundary. One impulsive decision, one that should have never happened, was made in that dimly lit room, a decision that would ripple through every life connected to it. By morning, when the storm finally died and sunlight crept through the curtains, Anea felt sick with regret. She moved quietly through the house, avoiding mirrors, avoiding thoughts, avoiding everything. Her hands trembled as she made coffee. Her breaths came uneven. She checked her phone. Nothing from Liam. Nothing from Ree. Nothing from Maya, but the silence felt louder than the thunder from the night before. At 9:10 a.m., Liam finally appeared, not in person, on her phone screen. His name flashed in a missed call notification from earlier that morning, along with a voice message she couldn't bring herself to open. When Ree arrived home around noon, she was cheerful, oblivious, carrying leftover pastries from work. Liam didn't come over that day, didn't text Ree either, not until late evening, and even then, the message was unusually short. "Not feeling well today, talk later." His tone had changed, his energy, his presence. Something was wrong at 7:48 p.m. As Anea tried to distract herself by reorganizing the kitchen drawers for the third time, her phone rang sharply. Ree's name lit up the screen. She answered immediately. "Ree, what is it?" Her daughter's voice was shaking, on the verge of sobbing. "Mom, something's wrong with Liam. He's not answering, and someone just called me from his phone. They said." Her voice broke into hysterical crying. And the world Anea thought she controlled began to collapse beneath her feet. The moment Ree's broken voice echoed through the phone, Anea felt the floor tilt beneath her. She didn't remember grabbing her keys or locking the front door behind her. All she knew was the icy rain against her face and the hollow thudding of her own heartbeat as she drove toward the address Ree sent. It was a narrow service road near the old railway bridge, isolated, dim, slick with the remains of last night's storm. By the time Annie arrived, red and blue police lights flashed across the pavement like frantic pulses. Paramedics crouched beside a figure on the ground. Liam, his face was pale, lips cracked, a bruise forming across his temple. He was breathing, but barely. Ree rushed toward Anea the moment she stepped out of the car, eyes swollen with terror. "Mom," he wasn't answering, so I kept calling, and then someone picked up, and they said he was just lying here, and Anea held her, but her arms trembled uncontrollably. She couldn't stop replaying the memory of last night. The dim lamp, his quiet voice, the decision they should have never made. Everything inside her screamed that this was connected, that she had set something terrible in motion. "Did he fall?" Anea asked, voice thin. "They don't know," Ree whispered, wiping her nose. "The police think it might not be an accident." Anea's blood ran cold. Minutes later, the ambulance doors slammed shut, taking Liam away. Ree rode with him. Anea stayed behind, surrounded by officers, questions, and a guilt so heavy it felt like a weight on her chest. A detective approached, a woman in her late 40s with sharp eyes and a calm, practiced tone. "I'm Detective Asha Rawat. You're Ree Patel's mother." "Yes," Anaya's voice cracked. "We'll need a few details from you. It appears the young man was found with injuries inconsistent with a simple fall. Until we know more, we're treating this as a suspicious incident." Anea forced herself to breathe. Suspicious. How? His phone was found several meters away. There are signs he may have been moved. The detective's gaze didn't waver. "Did you have any contact with Liam in the last 24 hours? The question struck like a blade. Anea blinked slowly, her mind scrambling through lies, truths, and the dangerous space between them. "No, not since yesterday afternoon," she said. Her tongue felt heavy, her pulse roared in her ears. She prayed it didn't show on her face. The detective made a note but didn't look convinced. "I have to stay calm," Anea told herself. "No one knows he was at the house. No one saw, no evidence, nothing." Or so she hoped. Anea was asked to follow them to the station for a formal statement. Hours blurred as she sat under bright fluorescent lights, answering question after question. "When did you last see him? Did he seem distressed? Do you know who he was meeting last night? Did he contact you at any point?" Her answers were soft, controlled, but each lie added another crack to the fragile story she was constructing. Meanwhile, digital forensic teams examined Liam's phone and rapidly uncovered a trail of inconsistencies. Deleted messages late, night calls, voicemails erased before dawn. One technician whispered something to the detective. They both glanced toward Anea through the glass window of the interview room. Her stomach twisted so violently she had to grip the edge of the table. Detective Rawat entered again, holding a printed sheet. "Mrs. Patel," she said, sitting across from her, "Liam called your number at 12:41 a.m. last night. 5 minutes later, he called again, and again at 1:09. Anea felt the blood drain from her face. She forced a brittle smile. "My phone must have been in the bedroom. I sleep heavily." The detective nodded slowly, observing every twitch of her fingers, every tremble in her voice. "In your smart home system," Rawat continued, "has a gap in its recording between 12:30 a.m. and 2:00 a.m. That's unusual." Anaya swallowed hard, the power outage from the storm. She had prayed it would be enough of an explanation. "It happens during storms," she murmured, lowering her eyes. "Yes," the detective said, "sometimes it does." But the tone implied sometimes wasn't enough. By late evening, Anaya was released. She stepped outside the station, exhausted, weighed down by dread. She checked her phone, no updates from the hospital, no messages from Ree, just silence. She walked to her car, gripping her purse like a lifeline. Until her phone buzzed, it was Detective Rawat. "We found something," the detective said without preamble. A neighbor's security camera caught movement last night. Ania froze. Rawat's voice hardened. It shows Liam entering your home after midnight. The line crackled with the weight of truth, and the collapse of every lie Ania thought she had secured. Morning fog still clung to the Patel neighborhood, a thin gray veil that made everything feel suspended, unreal, fragile. Anaya stood at the kitchen sink, staring through the window as if she could wash away last night simply by blinking hard enough. But reality had already sunk its claws into her life. Liam was in the hospital. The police were circling her house like vultures waiting for something to drop, and Ree's eyes. They looked hollow whenever she glanced at her mother, as if she sensed an earthquake beneath the surface but couldn't find the fault line. Detective Monroe returned just after 9. His expression was unreadable, no hostility, no comfort, just the cold neutrality of a man who had sifted through too many secrets in his career. He placed a tablet on the dining table and tapped the screen. "We've recovered some initial forensic data," he said. Anaya's breath froze. Her fingers curled around the back of the chair to steady herself. The first clip was audio, glitchy, distorted, but unmistakably hers and Liam's voices. A fragment caught mid-sentence. "You can't tell her this stays between us." Anaya felt the world tilt. She remembered whispering those words. She remembered the panic. But she was certain she had deleted the entire conversation thread. "How did you?" she began. "It synced automatically to your home assistant device." Monroe said quietly, "A lot of people don't realize how much these things record." He let the words hang. She felt them slice through her ribs. Then came the next piece, fingerprints, on the upstairs hallway wall, on the inside of Liam's jacket, on the railing leading to the basement where Liam had been found. "Liam's prints are expected," Monroe said. "But what concerns me are duplicates, smudges that don't match his movement pattern. He didn't say her name. He didn't need to. The final piece was text message fragments restored from forensic scraping. Half sentences, broken timestamps, but enough to imply something deeply inappropriate. Liam, you said you'd handle it. Why haven't you? Unknown draft reply Anaya's phone. I swear I'll fix everything." Ree, sitting across the table, gasped softly. Anaya's heart caved in. "These could have any explanation," she said shakily. "You're twisting them. This isn't." But Monroe was already sliding a folder toward her, flipping it open to reveal bank records. Transfers from Liam Carter's account. Small, irregular payments, all sent to an anonymous prepaid card. Someone in this house, Monroe said, was sending money to Liam or receiving it. Ree stiffened. "Are you saying Liam was blackmailing us? We're not ruling anything out," he replied calmly, "but patterns point to coercion or leverage, and these payments began 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago was when Liam had first lingered too long in the kitchen, when he had first touched Anaya's hand, when everything had begun to unravel." Anaya's stomach twisted violently. She couldn't tell if she had been manipulated or if she had manipulated herself. The detective began observing her more closely now. His eyes followed the tremor in her hands, the way she avoided looking at certain documents, the way her voice thinned every time Liam's name was spoken. She could feel him mentally circling her, searching for an opening. By afternoon, Monroe had set up a temporary command post across the street with an unmarked car, a surveillance move he didn't bother hiding. Every time Anaya caught its silhouette through the blinds, her chest tightened. She knew this was no longer a casual inquiry. She was officially someone to watch. As evening settled in, she began clearing old notifications from her phone. Anything that felt risky, anything that could be misunderstood. But as she scrolled, an empty space caught her eye. A voicemail had been deleted. She didn't remember deleting it. A cold shiver ran over her arms. She opened her backup folder. The file name was unfamiliar, a string of numbers with no label. She tapped it. Her own voice filled the room. "Liam, please call me back. We need to talk before someone else finds out. I can't let this get worse." Her knees nearly buckled. She had sent this message hours, exactly hours, before he was found injured in the Patel basement. Footsteps sounded behind her. Detective Monroe stood in the doorway, holding a small device in his glove. "We recovered something you should hear," he said. Anaya stared at him, breathless, terrified. "We found this," Monroe continued softly on Liam's phone. He pressed play. It was the same voicemail, her voice, unedited, undeleted, time stamped 1 hour and 14 minutes before Liam was injured. Anaya's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Monroe's expression hardened just enough to shatter the last thread of hope she clung to. "Mrs. Patel," he said, "you need to start telling the truth." And with that, the chapter and the fragile story she had built collapsed. The courtroom felt colder than any police interrogation room Anaya had ever sat in, not because of the air conditioning, but because every eye, every reporter, every spectator, every juror watched her with a hunger that made her skin prickle. The gallery buzzed with whispered speculation, the hushed electricity of a story that had grown too salacious, too sensational to ignore. Camera shutters clicked like distant gunfire. A case involving a mother, a teenage boy, and a near-fatal scandal. It had become national news overnight. Anaya sat stiffly next to her attorney, hands clasped tightly in her lap. She tried not to look at Ree, who sat 2 rows behind her, trembling, her shoulders slumped as though holding the weight of the world. Their eyes had not met since the arrest, maybe because Anaya was afraid of the accusation she might find there, or worse, the disappointment. The bailiff called the court to order. Superior Court of New Jersey is now in session, the Honorable Judge Harrison presiding. Everyone rose. Everyone except Anaya, who felt as if her bones had turned to glass. The judge's gaze swept the room, heavy and focused. Let the prosecution begin. Assistant District Attorney Swanson walked to the center with measured confidence. He wore no expression, only a cold certainty that made Anaya's stomach twist. He activated the courtroom monitor. "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, what you will see today is not simply evidence," he began. "It is a digital map of lies, coercion, and a relationship that should never have existed." A collective murmur rose behind Anaya. Swanson clicked the remote. Exhibit A, the voicemail. Her own voice filled the silent room. "Liam, please, call me back. We need to talk before someone else finds out." Anaya closed her eyes briefly, the shame clawing deep. Swanson continued, "This voicemail was recorded 1 hour and 14 minutes before the victim, Liam Carter, was found gravely injured inside the Patel home, and this is only the beginning." He tapped the screen again. Exhibit B, restored text fragments, glitchy, disjointed, but unmistakably real. "Liam, you said you'd handle it." Draft reply, "I can't let this get worse." Gasps rippled across the gallery. Anaya's attorney leaned toward her. "Stay calm," he whispered. "He's building shock value, not truth." But truth and shock were dangerously close now, separated only by interpretation. Next came the bank transfers. Swanson displayed a list of transactions, highlighting the payments Liam had made to an anonymous prepaid card. "These transfers," he said, "were sent over a span of 2 weeks, the same 2 weeks in which Mr. Carter's relationship with the Patel household intensified. We believe these payments were part of a blackmail scheme." The room buzzed louder. Anaya felt every gaze stab her like needles. Swanson paused before the next slide, letting tension thicken the room. "And now," he said slowly, "we turn to the smart home system." The screen lit up with a timeline of CCTV gaps, those suspicious blackouts in recording during the night of the incident. Someone manually disabled certain cameras. Swanson declared, someone who knew how the system worked. The implication hit like a lightning strike. Ree covered her mouth. Aenea's throat tightened until she could barely breathe. Her attorney rose. Objection, Your Honor, pure speculation. Sustained. Judge Harrison said, "Stick to facts, Mr. Swanson." Swanson nodded, unbothered. He had plenty of facts. Let's call our first witness. Detective Monroe took the stand with the calm presence of a man accustomed to dismantling lies piece by piece. He testified about the inconsistencies in Aenea's initial story, her trembling during questioning, the recovered fingerprint anomalies, the deleted audio. And then he said the words that made Ree flinch violently. Based on the evidence, we concluded that Mrs. Patel had a private, undisclosed connection with the victim. Aenea felt the floor tilt beneath her. Her attorney jumped up. Objection, that conclusion is unsubstantiated. But Monroe remained steady. The digital data speaks for itself. Two more witnesses followed, a neighbor who reported seeing Liam enter the house after midnight, a forensic analyst who confirmed attempts to wipe data and reset devices. Each testimony carved deeper cracks into the Patel family's perfect facade. Finally, the prosecutor introduced the last witness of the day, Ree's cousin, Maya. Aenea's heart plummeted. Maya walked nervously to the stand, clutching her phone as though it might anchor her. She recounted finding the screenshot, the one everyone wished didn't exist, a message deleted from Liam's chat. She whispered. It said they talked privately that night. Silence thundered through the room. Aenea lowered her head. Her daughter sobbed behind her. When Maya stepped down, Swanson approached the bench for his final statement before adjournment. He adjusted his tie, glanced at Aenea, then turned to the judge. "Your Honor," he said, his voice ringing with finality, "the evidence suggests far more than an accident or misunderstanding." Reporters leaned forward. Pens hovered, phones rolled silently, and then he dropped the bomb. "Your Honor, the defendant's secret relationship with the victim changes everything." The room erupted, gasps, whispers, flashing cameras. Aenea froze. Her attorney slammed his hand on the table. Objection, there was no. But the damage was done. Night pressed heavily over the county detention center, a humid darkness that seemed to seep through the walls and into Aenea's bones. After the explosive revelations in the courtroom, her attorney had begged her not to speak, not to react, not to give the prosecution more ammunition. But silence had turned into a prison of its own. So when Detective Monroe came knocking with a soft, deliberate tap on the interview room door, "Mrs. Patel, we need to talk," Aenea didn't resist. The room was dimly lit, a single bulb buzzing overhead like a tired insect. She sat across from Monroe, who placed a small recorder on the table. He didn't push it toward her or try to intimidate her. He simply waited. Aenea's hands trembled in her lap. "You understand you're not required to speak tonight," Monroe said gently. "Your lawyer advised against it." "I know," she whispered, "but I can't keep carrying this alone." Monroe folded his hands. "Then tell me what really happened." For the longest moment, she couldn't speak. Her throat tightened. Her ribs felt like they were caging her own heart, holding in something poisonous. She stared at the table, at the wood grain that smeared beneath her tear-filled vision. "You saw the messages," she finally murmured. "You saw the deleted call logs. You saw everything, but you don't know the truth behind them." Monroe leaned forward slightly. "Then help me understand it." Aenea inhaled shakily. "It started with loneliness." The words fell like stones. "Ree was growing up, pulling away from me, and Liam." She closed her eyes, trying to steady herself. "He was kind, thoughtful. He looked at me like I mattered. I should have stopped it the moment I felt something shift, but I didn't." She swallowed hard. "The night of the storm, he didn't force himself into my life. I let him in, I let the boundaries blur. I thought it was harmless, I thought I could handle it, but I was wrong. Monroe remained silent, giving her space. I regret every second of it, she said, voice cracking, not because of what people think, but because of how it spiraled, how it destroyed my daughter, how it destroyed all of us. Monroe clicked on the recorder. Start from the beginning in your own words, she nodded. We talked that night Shree wasn't home. The storm was getting worse. We were both emotional, vulnerable. One impulsive moment turned into something I couldn't take back, and afterward Liam was terrified. Guilt ate him alive. A tear slid down her cheek. He said he needed money, not for himself, but to keep anyone from finding out. He didn't want Ree hurt. He didn't want his friends knowing. He said if rumors spread, he'd lose everything. He begged me not to destroy his future. Monroe frowned slightly. So the financial transactions, those were from you. Yes, she whispered, but it wasn't blackmail. It was panic. It was both of us trying to cover a moment we wished never happened. She clasped her hands together, knuckles white. But the lies didn't hold. He kept calling, kept apologizing, kept saying he didn't feel right. He wanted to tell Ree, he wanted to confess, and I told him we should wait, we should think. Her voice lowered to a painful whisper. Those messages you recovered, the ones you think mean manipulation, they were two people drowning in guilt, that's all. Monroe watched her carefully, and the night he was found injured, her breath hitched. That part, I still don't understand, she said. He came to the house. I tried to send him away. I told him Ree would be home soon. He looked broken. He said he couldn't pretend anymore. He said the guilt was everywhere, even in his sleep. She wiped her face with trembling fingers. I stepped outside for a moment, to breathe, to clear my head. When I came back, he was already on the floor. I thought he was dead. I panicked. I didn't call right away. I know that was wrong, but I was terrified. I didn't hurt him, detective. I swear on everything I have left, I didn't touch him. Monroe's expression softened, though his jaw remained tense, and the voicemail. Enea closed her eyes. I was trying to stop him from coming over. I was trying to do the right thing, but I failed. The clock on the wall ticked loudly. The bulb overhead flickered. Mrs. Patel, Monroe said quietly, once this confession is submitted, everything changes. Courts, media, public. Are you sure you want this recorded? She lifted her gaze, eyes glassy but resolute. I don't have anything left to lose except my daughter, she whispered, and I can't let her live in a world built on lies. Monroe pressed the button. The recorder beeped. The confession was now forever documented. The next morning, courtroom reporters flooded the hallway before the hearing resumed. News alerts flashed across social media. Breaking, mother makes late night confession in Liam Carter case. The truth will break this family apart, says investigating officer inside the courtroom. People whispered as Anaya was escorted in, looking hollow, drained. Ree, refusing to sit with relatives, positioned herself where she could see her mother. The judge entered. The room fell silent. The prosecutor rose. Your Honor, the defendant made a voluntary confession last night. Gasps erupted. Cameras clicked wildly. The prosecutor activated the courtroom audio system. Enea's broken voice filled the room. I crossed a line no mother ever should. Halfway through the sentence, Ree's face went white. Her body swayed, her hand reached for the bench, and she collapsed to the floor with a sharp, heart-breaking cry. Chaos exploded in the courtroom. The courtroom remained sealed under emergency protocol for nearly 20 minutes after Ree collapsed. EMT rushed in, lifting her carefully as reporters whispered furiously behind the closed doors. Anaya tried to stand to reach her daughter, but officers held her back with practiced firmness. Please, Anaya begged, voice trembling. She needs me. She needs her mother. But the very word mother now hung like a blade in the air. By the time court reconvened that afternoon, the atmosphere had transformed. Shock had hardened into something colder, anticipation. Everyone sensed that the case, already twisted and nationalized, was about to reach its breaking point. Judge Harrison entered with the gravitas of a man who knew the verdict would leave scars. Bring in the jury. As the 12 jurors filed inside, eyes lowered, the bailiff stepped forward with a sealed evidence box. Your Honor, we have newly recovered digital material from the victim's iCloud backup. Forensics completed decryption at 4:13 p.m. today. A ripple of tension swept across the room. Anaya's attorney stood abruptly. Your Honor, introducing new digital evidence at this stage, overruled. Judge Harrison said, not unkindly, this evidence is material to determining the truth. The box clicked open. Inside lay Liam Carter's phone restored from cloud fragments, its cracked screen glowing faintly as the forensic technician connected it to the courtroom's monitor. The first image appeared, a timestamp. 10:42 p.m., the night of the storm, a video thumbnail flickered. The technician explained the phone recorded automatically when placed face down, a privacy feature, but it triggered voice detection. The video expanded across the monitor. A shaky view of ceiling lights, muffled thunder, and then Liam's voice. I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't have come back. Anaya froze, gripping the edge of the table until her fingers turned white. The audio continued, raw and unfiltered. She said no one would understand. She said, we have to keep this between us. But I can't do it anymore. I can't keep lying to Ree. Gasps erupted. Anaya shut her eyes. Every word cut her open. If anything happens to me, it's because I couldn't live with the guilt, not because she hurt me. She didn't, but I'm drowning. The audio cracked. Rain hammered outside in the recording. Liam sounded frantic, pacing. I need to tell someone, even if it ruins everything. The screen turned black. The courtroom fell into a stunned silence so complete it felt unnatural. Then the technician spoke again. There's more. The next file loaded, text messages never retrieved before. Liam, I'm at your house. We need to talk now. Anaya, please don't. Ree will be home. We can't keep doing this. Liam, I'm not here for that. Anaya, then why come, Liam, to end it? Anaya's breath left her in a silent shudder. The prosecution ended the sequence with the final recovered data. Liam's attempt to call Ree at 12:03 a.m. A call that never connected. The judge cleared his throat, grave. Ladies and gentlemen, the jury may now deliver its decision. The jurors exchanged glances, their faces pale from what they'd witnessed. The foreman rose. In the matter of State vs. Anaya Patel, we find the defendant not guilty of assault, not guilty of attempted manslaughter, but guilty of obstruction of justice and suppression of evidence. The room exploded. Reporters shouting questions, camera flashes stinging the air. Some spectators cried, others whispered accusations. The verdict satisfied no one. It only deepened the ache. Anaya collapsed into her chair. She would not go to prison for hurting Liam, because she hadn't touched him. But she had concealed the truth. She had lied. She had destroyed trust. Her sentence would be years of probation, community restrictions, and mandatory therapy, but the real punishment was not legal. It was the empty space where her daughter once stood. Aftermath, months later, the Patel home became a ghost. Neighbors avoided eye contact. Ree moved out, refusing to speak to her mother. Relatives spoke in low, embarrassed tones. True crime channels turned the case into a spectacle. Podcasts dissected every message, every confession, every glance. Documentaries recreated scenes with actors, turning Anaya into a symbol of forbidden desire and emotional collapse. And through it all, one question haunted everyone. What really happened the night Liam was found on the floor? Liam survived the injuries, but he never spoke publicly. He refused interviews, changed schools, disappeared from social media. His silence only deepened the mystery. Meanwhile, Enea lived in the shadows of her own choices. Her life divided into two eras, before the storm and after the catastrophe. One final reveal: a year after the trial, the documentary team gained access to the last encrypted file from Liam's cloud, something even police couldn't open during the case. It was a voice note, recorded 3 hours before he collapsed. The screen flickered, thunder rolled in the background. Liam's shaky voice whispered, "If someone finds this, I'm sorry I broke Ree's heart, I'm sorry I let things go too far with her mom, I'm sorry I didn't stop it sooner, tonight I'm going to tell the truth, all of it, no matter the outcome." A pause. A trembling breath. "I just hope someone forgives me." The recording ended, and the world finally understood. The catastrophe had never been a single moment. It was a chain reaction born from secrecy, fueled by guilt and sealed by silence.